Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Enchanted Escape Pod. This is episode 5. I'm Vanessa, and I am here with my incredible husband, Lucas.
Hello. Today we're going to be starting a new format, I guess. How should we call this?
A new series.
A new series. We should name it still, though.
Yeah, this is our resort rundown series. We'll
That's
come up with a fun name for it.
Well, today we're going to be starting to talk about resorts in general. Right now we're going to be talking about the value ones. You know, Disney World has like so many different resorts and like they're like split between like a few categories. So we're going to start with like the cheapest ones. Also the ones that are the prettiest ones, maybe, I guess.
I don't think so. They can't be the cheapest and the prettiest, but they're a lot of fun.
Very well themed, though.
Yeah. But basically, we just want to give overviews of all of the resorts on Walt Disney World property because there are so many to choose from. So we're going to do a 3-part series. Part 1 is value resorts. Part 2 will be the moderate resorts, like the middle tier resorts. And Part 3 will be the deluxe resorts, which we've only experienced ourselves one time.
I think we're going to have to do like Part 4 maybe. I think the deluxe
there's a lot of deluxe
like
resorts.
2.
Yeah, a lot of...
Part 2, no, like 2 parts.
2 parts for deluxe, yeah. But today we're going to dive into those value level resorts. But before we get into those, we do have a little bit of news that came out this past week. Halloween foodie guides are out for the West Coast. So Disneyland foodie guide dropped. That's going to be available August 22nd through October 31st, Halloween. Lots of delicious snacks like some pumpkin spiced breadsticks and Darth by chocolate dessert, Star Wars theme thing, but there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Nothing that we ever had it.
Yeah, we have not had any of the...
Well, we probably will.
Yeah, we haven't had any of the Halloween treats in Disneyland. We've had plenty in Disney World, but we are going to be in Disneyland the beginning of September. So hopefully we get to try some of this stuff. But yeah, those guides are out. So, check your favorite Disney blog and, there's a lot of different ones out. But also on the West Coast in California Adventure is Plaza de la Familia, which comes back for the Halloween season for Dia de los Muertos. That's August 22nd through November 2nd, and they have their own incredible menu of Halloween-themed stuff. Also, a very adorable, exclusive Dante sipper, the little dog from Coco, and a Coco one, too.
We should get one of this.
Did you see the picture of this sipper?
Yeah.
It is adorable.
But also, I just want to say that like they're gonna have like tacos, but also just going back to Disneyland, the seasonal churros and stuff. Like I'm excited for that.
There's a lot of different kinds of churros that look amazing.
And al pastor tacos, like horchata churros, that's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be very, very full on our one day in Disneyland.
Yep.
And California Adventure.
A lot of food.
Okay, but that's really all we have this week for news. Not too much coming out. So we are going to jump right into our main topic, which is value resorts. Like we said before, resorts are split into 3 different tiers: value, moderate, and deluxe. The value level, there are just, I guess there's, say there's 3 or 6?
Officially it's 5.
Yeah, or 5, sorry.
Officially is 5, but I like to consider like 3.
Yeah. So there's All-Stars, the All-Star Resorts, which technically are 3 separate resorts: All-Star Movie, All-Star Music, and All-Star Sports. And then there's Pop Century Resort and Art of Animation Resort. So we are going to start with All-Stars. Do you want to jump into those?
Yes. As Vanessa said, we have like All-Star Sports, All-Star Music, and All-Star Movies. The only one that we still have to stay at is the music. Right?
Yep. Yeah, we stayed at movies and sports this past June.
Yeah, so basically, all of them, they opened like in the mid to late 1990s. Disney kind of designed them to like, for the guests to have like a cheaper option, like besides like Contemporary and like Polynesian and the other deluxe ones that were open at the time. Of course, as the name said, they all have like some unique themes. And when you're there, you actually like these themes are very present.
They're over the top.
Yeah, you're just walking to the resort, and out of nowhere, there's like a giant guitar,
like 30 feet tall, more.
Yeah, so let's start by talking about the All-Star Sports. That's the first one that opened. Disney opened that in April of 1994. It has like a little bit over 1,900 rooms.
A lot of rooms.
That's actually kind of a lot. the different team areas that they have between the buildings are football, basketball, tennis, baseball, and surfing. Surfing? Why surfing though?
I think surfing's fun. It's very beachy. I like the surfing area.
Well, they have like a vibe, of course, of like sports, and like, that's the resort actually where like all the time that when they are doing cheerleader competitions in Florida, that's the resort that they're gonna be staying at.
Yeah, or like Pop Warner football. It's all like kids sports teams always staying there.
So I've like read sometimes like bunch of like reviews and reports of people just saying that they were like staying there, and out of nowhere, like 7 a.m, they're just like a group of like 100 cheerleaders just like doing laps on the
Yeah, I
between
think because
buildings.
they're like so affordable, those rooms, it makes sense for like really large student groups. If they're gonna rent a block of 50 rooms or whatever, this resort makes sense. And yeah.
So as usual, they have like a food court that's called the End Zone Food Court, and they have a pool bar. They also have, of course, a pool. They have the arcade. They have a playground.
The pool here is shaped like a big surfboard too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about these resorts. They're like, the theming is like over the top.
Yeah.
I feel like it. So All Star Music, on the other way, was open on 1920. No, what?
In 1920.
That was open on November 22nd of 1994. So a few months after the sports open. This resort has 1,600 rooms, but the difference is that like this is the only All Stars that has options for family suites that sleeps up to 6. So that's kind of like, important when you have like a big family. The themed areas for this resort is Calypso, Jazz Inn, Rock Inn, Country Fair, and Broadway Hotel.
All different kinds of music.
What is Calypso though?
It's a type of music.
Well, I gotta hear that. The vibe, of course, is like a celebration of music with like massive instruments. That's where it comes like the massive guitar and stuff. Think about the guitar from Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah,
right.
It's that size.
Of course, they also have dining options. The food court is named Intermission Food Court, and the pool bar is named Singing Spirits. They also have pools, arcades, playgrounds, same idea, and of course, an additional with everything are the family suites. And the last one is the All-Star Movies. That opened actually only like 5 years after the other two. This resort has the same amount of rooms as the All-Star Sports. It has like over 1,900 rooms. The themed areas was 101 Dalmatians, Toy Story, Fantasia, Mighty Ducks, and Herbie the Love Bug. I used to be obsessed with Herbie though.
It's so cute, that area. One thing that I'll say about the theming of these areas, so all the different like themed areas represent like some buildings. So there's like the 101 Dalmatians buildings and the Toy Story buildings. When we stayed at All-Star Movies, we stayed in the Mighty Ducks area, and I get it because Mighty Ducks was so big in the late 90s, but it's a little bit annoying because you feel like you're staying at All-Star Sports a little bit, because we got there and the entrance to our building was like a big hockey mask and hockey sticks, and I was like, wait, are we at All-Star Movies or All-Star Sports? So yeah, I feel like they should have picked a different movie, but I'll get off my soapbox now. You can go on.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the vibe here, it's movies, and like they're kind of like more of the older movies because of when the resort opened, so it's more like nostalgic and stuff. And as Vanessa said, there's like these massive statues of Disney characters. Also, of course, food court. It's called World Premiere Food Court, and a Silver Screen Spirits Pool Bar. So, the names are there. Of course, they always have like pools, arcade, and playground. So that's all the details for the 3 different areas of All-Stars. Let's talk about the pros and cons of these resorts.
I mean, the pros, there's one big pro.
Cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, right?
Yeah. I mean, like 99% of the time, if we're booking a stay and we're looking at our options, one of the All-Star resorts, usually All-Star Sports, but one of the All-Star resorts comes in by far as the cheapest option. So
yeah. Another pro, of course, is that the theming for kids is just very good. It's a pretty resort. Like, it's very fun and nice to walk around.
Yeah, there's a lot of places to take like cute pictures here too, because there's all kinds of huge statues and the theming is awesome.
Yeah, and another thing that I feel like is kind of nice about this, that even though it's a value resort, it's not as huge as like some other resorts, aka Pop Century, that we're gonna talk about in a few minutes. So even if you were like on the farthest building, you're not gonna be having to walk like 10 minutes into the lobby or transportation options.
Yeah. If you walk fast.
Well, cons, since we talk about transportation options, one of the cons about All Stars is only buses as a transportation option. People don't have like Skyliner access. Not even gonna talk about monorail here.
Yeah. You're not even close.
I feel like the other big con that we have for these resorts is that like it's always packed.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't matter if you go in the high season, the low season, there's always gonna be a bunch of like big groups over there. The food court's always gonna be busy.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, just look out for like those competitions that happen in the Florida area when there's big cheer competitions, big like Pop Warner football competitions, because at those times in particular, those resorts are going to be flooded with kids.
But I've also heard though that a lot of people got upgraded from music, sports specifically, because for example, they book you over there, but then like after you're booked, like a big group of cheerleaders or something like inquire to like a bunch of rooms over there. So of course they get it because they want this kind of business, but then they have to move people around. So I've heard a lot of people
book
like,
at All Star Sports and just pray for a Polynesian
I've heard of a lot
upgrade.
of people like getting upgrades sometimes to moderate and stuff.
Yeah.
So one day,
if it's a risk you're willing to take, go for it. You never know.
I mean, if you just like book it and get the expectations that you're gonna stay in an All Stars,
yeah,
and
but
if you get upgraded, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think these resorts are awesome for us when we're doing like quick trips, because a lot of times we go and we'll just do like 2 or 3 nights just to go to like a Halloween party or a Christmas party or just like a pass holder preview for something. And we know we're going to spend 90% of our time in the parks or outside of the resort. So for trips like that, All Stars is usually top of our list.
I feel like for the price that you pay, there's not much to complain for it. You're like not paying like a crazy amount of money for your room, and you still have like a nice pool. You still have like all of the amenities for kids and stuff. So I feel like besides like only having buses as a transportation option, and sometimes the buses, especially like leaving a Magic Kingdom after fireworks, the line's going to be huge. But like besides that, like what else can you think that is bad? You know what I mean? It's a great place to stay.
The only thing to keep in mind with these is that if you are staying with a family that needs 2 beds, all of the second beds in these like value level resorts are Murphy beds. Usually they're the beds that fold into the wall and then fold down. So when they're folded up, you usually have like some kind of desk or table there, and then when you fold it down, you then lose that table to extend the second bed. So since they're value level resorts, the rooms are not quite as spacious as like the moderate or deluxe level. So there are accommodations like that where you gotta fold a bed out of the wall.
Well, still comfortable enough for kids though.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And for us, we don't usually use the second bed anyway, so we just get the table.
All right.
Awesome. So next we are going to jump into one of our favorites, actually, not just of the values, but we love staying here. And that's Pop Century Resort. So this resort actually has a really cool history. It was originally planned in the late 90s, 1999, because the 20th century was coming to a close and Disney wanted to, have a way to celebrate those decades. So they decided they were going to open up a 2-part resort called Pop Century, celebrating each of the decades of the 20th century. So this was going to be split into 2 halves, the classic years, which was the 1950s through the 1990s, and then the legendary years, which was the 1900s through the 1940s. So, of course, now we just have the 1950s through the 1990s. So they started with those classic years. Then in 2001, of course, 9/11 happened and set back a lot of this construction and planning. So the classic years, the resort that we know now, they pushed the opening of that from 2001 to 2003 and then ended out tabling the legendary years. So they did not move forward with the construction of the 1900s through the 1940s. We'll talk more about what happened to that area a little bit later. But they did open up the resort as we know it now, which was the 1950s, 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Those are all the different areas of the Pop Century Resort. I believe the 1950s are the preferred rooms. Is that correct? Right?
I was just trying to think about it. I
think it's
cannot
the 50s
remember
and
right
60s. So for those of you who don't know, when you talk about a preferred room at a resort, these are just rooms that are in the buildings that are closest to the main lobby area and the transportation. So I believe in Pop Century, that's the 1950s and some of the 1960s. Those are going to be the buildings that are closest and considered preferred rooms. And then a little farther out, you have the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I think we've stayed in the 70s and in the...
We stayed in the 50s once, no?
Did we stay in the... Yeah, I think
so.
the 50s and the 70s we've stayed in. But the whole vibe of this resort is super nostalgic and colorful. Everything's really bright and upbeat. There's like huge pop, giant pop icons like, big dominoes and what other stuff is there?
I like this resort as one of like the best decorations. One thing that I really like about Pop Century is that on the lobby, there's a specific wall where there's all of these different things and like objects from the different like years. So I have a bunch of stuff from the 50s, bunch of stuff from the 60s and 70s and stuff. And it's cool because it's almost like a museum or something.
Yeah, it's really cool to walk in and explore that lobby. And then, all around the resort, there's there's like a giant yo-yo. There's a huge bowling pin. There's all kinds of cool statues, just like at the All-Star Sports Resorts. Lots of photo ops. The resort itself is huge. So it is just over 2,800 rooms. So about 1,000 more rooms than All-Star Sports or music or movies. I can't remember.
All Stars.
Yeah, it's a lot of rooms.
Yeah.
So just like the All-Star Resorts, this has one big dining area and then also a pool bar. So one thing you're not going to find at these value resorts is any kind of like sit-down full-service dining. They just really have these large food court areas and then some kind of outdoor pool bar space. So this has that also. They have a main pool and then also some smaller pools because it's such a large resort with so many buildings. They do have to have some smaller pools a little out from the central area, or else you'd have to walk 20 minutes to get to a pool. And with 2,800 rooms, definitely need more than one pool to accommodate everyone. We've actually never swam in the pools there.
No, I feel like every time we stay at either All Stars or Pop Century, we're always like, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And we don't really have like a bunch of resort time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
know what I wish they had over there? Those kinds of like, how you call those things that you have in the airport that you just go faster?
Oh, like the moving sidewalk kind of things?
Yeah, it's like a flat...
like a flat escalator, but
exactly.
Like a moving sidewalk.
I wish they had that at like Pop Century. It was just
It's tough when you're not in a preferred room and you're in one of the rooms that are like in the 90s. You're gonna walk a minute.
I mean, in the morning is great. You leave your resort at like 7-something, 8 in the morning, and the sun is nice. It's not as hot yet. It's a beautiful day. It's not as humid yet. And
fast
then
forward to 11 p.m.
And then you're excited to get like a nice coffee on the food court, having a nice breakfast, and then you spend your whole day walking around on a 90-degree sun, and then you go back.
You get off the bus and crawl for 25 minutes.
It's almost like you want to like just like order an Uber to pick you up in the lobby and drop you off at your
room.
Yeah, it's tough.
They are very, very spread out. One thing that is awesome though about Pop Century is that it does also have Skyliner access.
It's the best part about
that. Yeah, so that is awesome. And we stayed what section? I think in the 70s. We're very close to the Skyliner. Yeah. So that's not a preferred room. So it's not super close to the lobby, but it is super close to the Skyliner stop at Pop Century. So that was really convenient. And it's just also such an awesome thing that at a value level, you can have access to the Skyliner, which will take you directly to, Hollywood Studios, Epcot, just an awesome amenity to have there. So overall, I'd say pros and cons of Pop Century. So pros, definitely, obviously, the Skyliner. The theming is so cute, so over the top. really cool. The rooms also at Pop Century were recently refurbished, so they are
they're pretty new.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
nice.
They had been refurbished when we stayed there last.
Yeah, it was very nice. It was very modern.
Yeah, it feels really
know.
modern, feels really clean. So that's really nice. Some cons of this resort is going to be, number one, there's only one size room. So they don't have any suites like they have available at All Stars. So you will need to do like 2 conjoined rooms if you have a larger group. And also just the sheer size of this resort is a con, because there are certain buildings that where, if you're staying in those buildings, you are a mile away from the lobby and the food court. So that can be tough. But overall, I think we love this resort. We've stayed here multiple times, and the price,
when you think about
awesome.
when you think about like a value resort, and then you hear the word Skyliner, I'm in.
Yeah.
Don't tell me anything else.
It is so cool.
Take my money.
Here you go. So back to the discussion of the legendary years of Pop Century. So in its original planning, there was supposed to be one side that was the classic years, one side that was the legendary years, and then in between what they called the Generation Gap Bridge, which I think actually this bridge that runs between these resorts is still called the Generation Gap Bridge. But what they did instead is the land that they had started to develop and started to build the legendary years. In, I believe, 2010, they announced they were going to be converting that into a different resort called Art of Animation. And Art of Animation opened in 2012 in what was going to be the legendary years area. And this resort is split into different themed areas. These areas are adorable. They're very cute. The theming is awesome. So there's the Finding Nemo area, the Cars area, the Lion King area, and the Little Mermaid area. The concentration when building Art of Animation was on family suites. So of the almost 2,000 rooms that they have at Art of Animation, 1,100 of them, or a little more than 1,100 of them, are family suites. So this was Disney's way of saying, okay, we recognize there's a lot of families that have, 3 or 4 kids, and they need a space that is larger and that can accommodate them all together in one space. So this resort was an answer to that. It actually has, so the Big Blue Pool is the main pool at Art of Animation, and it's actually the largest pool on Walt Disney World property across all of their resorts.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until we were doing a little research for this episode. So that is super cool. We've never stayed at Art of Animation, mostly because even though it is a value level resort, it is definitely the most expensive of the value level resorts. Almost to a point where, there are times where we look up pricing and Art of Animation comes in higher than some of the moderates.
Yeah, for some reason, like Art of Animation prices are generally like moderate prices. Like Port Orleans, it's generally cheaper than here.
Yeah, than Art.
Like what else? Coronado Springs is
generally
we've cheaper than here.
For cheaper. Yeah. Yeah, so it's, it'll depend on, obviously, on the time of year and, what you're looking for, but definitely the most expensive of the value level ones. But at some point, we'll have to try it out. We did eat in the food court here one time when we were staying at Pop Century, just so we could walk over and see some of the themed areas. So they have what's called Landscape of Flavors is their, big cafeteria type dining area. The food was actually really good there.
It was good.
Yeah. Standard large dining hall food. And then they also do have a pool bar, an outdoor pool bar. Also, so transportation for Art of Animation, since it is right across the bridge from Pop Century, they do share that Skyliner station. So it does have Skyliner transportation access, which is awesome, in addition to regular bus access. So, overall, pros and cons, Art of Animation. Pros, definitely the Skyliner. Definitely the family suites, like having such a huge variety of suites that you can choose from. And the theming, I think, of Art of Animation is some of the best value level theming.
I feel like the theming of all of the value resorts are just over the top.
Yeah.
I feel like even if you pay like a cheaper amount of money, you wouldn't expect that much. But at least for decoration, you can put your expectations very high.
Yeah. And I think also the theming at Art of Animation is like the IP is more relevant, I think, to a lot of kids now, like Finding Nemo and Cars, The Little Mermaid and Lion King. Like, not all those kids are going to be just as into like the Mighty Ducks anymore and that kind of stuff. So I think the IP that they have at this resort is definitely the newest and most relevant to kids now. So then the cons of Art of Animation, I would say, again, the price point for a value resort definitely going to be on the higher end of the value resort pricing. So that's not totally great. Also, this resort too is very large. So if you're staying like in the Little Mermaid area, it's the farthest area from the Skyliner. It's going to take you a minute to get over there. But overall, I think a really cool resort, and definitely at some point we'll try staying there.
All right, so now let's go over the pros and cons in general of value resorts.
Yeah, so I think obviously the biggest pro for all the value resorts is just that the cost is much more approachable, much more affordable.
That's the first. Second?
The theming is definitely going to be a huge pro at all three of these resorts. They are just super cool resorts to walk through and look at.
And to be honest, I feel like these are the best resorts for little kids.
Yeah.
I feel like for a little kid that loves like nice theming and stuff, and like this kind of details are really gonna get you them. This is much better than a moderate or a deluxe resort.
Yeah, I mean, I think moderate and deluxe resorts, there's plenty that are also awesome for kids and have a ton of pros.
I'm saying like in theming in general.
Yeah, but the theming is definitely the most kid-focused.
Yeah.
And also with Pop Century and Art of Animation being on a Skyliner, there are a lot of kids that like riding the Skyliner is like their favorite ride. And I think...
That's my favorite ride.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much fun. So it's like starting and ending your day with a whole different ride. So, that's super fun for kids too. Obviously, you still get the regular perks of being on property here. So you get early park entry staying at any of these resorts, just like you do at a deluxe, but you're going to pay about 1/10 of the price.
And for the cons, of course, we have like the transportation options and All-Stars that you only have the buses. But, if you set your mindset right, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I mean, Animal Kingdom Lodge only has buses too, and it's a deluxe. So.
But it has giraffes.
It does have giraffes. That's true. Yeah, and also just because of the size of these resorts, like particularly All-Stars, frequently that bus is going to stop at music, movies, and sports. So it may take you a little bit longer. Make sure you're working in that time to get to where you're going in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always. I feel like we never really like experienced that in the mornings and like late at nights. They are really good on just keeping like
running more buses,
like resort Disney Springs, like
yeah.
But I feel like in off times, like midday or something, like in a time that like not much people are using transportation, they will be just
more bus sharing.
Yeah.
Also, another thing to keep in mind with all value level resorts, we touched on this earlier, but you're not going to have any like sit down full service dining options. It's just going to be a large kind of food court cafeteria style area, and then like an outdoor pool bar type of area for dining.
You can also just get on a bus 15 minutes Disney Springs, 30 plus options.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no shortage of food on Disney property.
All right, so what is your favorite value resort?
Well, we've never stayed at Art of Animation, so that might be my favorite in the future, but definitely I'd say now Pop Century is my go-to for
I feel like Pop Century is like our hidden favorite. I feel like our favorite is definitely Borderlings.
Oh yeah. Well, if we're opening it up to moderates.
No, in general. But I feel like Pop Century is there, even though it's a value. It's like we kind of love very much that resort.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome, especially with the rooms being refurbished and everything. Everything feels new and clean, and the resort itself is so awesome to walk around in and cool. A lot of cool stuff to see, and you have the Skyliner, and also they have the tie-dye cheesecake, which looks so cool and tastes just as good. So give that a try if you're staying at Pop Century.
Yeah.
So that's the value level resorts, All-Star Resorts, Pop Century, and Art of Animation. So if you are starting to explore different resorts on Walt Disney property and you're looking for something that is the most affordable option, these are the resorts that you're going to be looking at. They are fantastic resorts still fully immersed in Disney theming.
You're still staying inside Disney property, so you don't need to explain much.
You are in the bubble.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
That's the point.
And of course, if you are thinking to start planning a Walt Disney World adventure at one of these resorts or any resort, I would love to help you with that. Just send me an email at vanessa@fantasticalvacations.com and I can help you get started.
All right. Thank you for listening.
we will be back. I don't know if it'll be next week, but we will continue this series with an episode on moderates and at least one episode on deluxe because there's a lot to talk about there. So stay tuned for that too.
Yeah, the other resorts are gonna have like more details because they have more restaurants, they have more amenities and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
there's a lot going on when you get to moderates and especially deluxe. But okay, thanks so much for listening, guys. We will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.